In a land of sand, life is tough. It can sink away in an instant. The Arabian Desert is one of the most challenging places on Earth. But the animals here are resilient and specialized. Still, death is never far away. Creatures must seize every opportunity to find food, shelter, and water. Adaptability is the key to life and death in the dunes. One of Arabia's most iconic animals. It's often cited as original inspiration for the wondrous mythical creature, the unicorn. When viewed from the side, the Arabian oryx looks like a large white animal with a single long horn. In fact, it's an antelope, one of the best adapted to a life in the furnace. The dominant oryx bull starts his day looking over his herd. As the sun rises, the group will adapt their behavior to cope with the changing conditions it brings. Oryx typically forms small groups of less than a dozen. Any more would put too much pressure on the scant vegetation. There's a strict hierarchy that's enforced with posturing and head gestures. The dominant animals of both sexes use their 60-centimeter horns to make their point. Only the dominant male breeds. This herd bull spends most of his time patrolling. He monitors the females for hormonal changes that signal they are ready to breed. He does so by tasting her urine. He curls his lip, a strange grimace known as flamen, to pull the scent to what's called the Jacobson's organ on the roof of his mouth. With this, he can sense her hormone levels and determine when she'll be ready to mate. She doesn't seem to be ready just yet. The herd has other things to worry about. Their first challenge of the day is to warm up. At night, the temperature only drops to around 20 degrees Celsius. But to creatures built to withstand heat, which can exceed 50 degrees, that feels cold. The oryx turn themselves to stand side-on to the warming sun, exposing as much of their bodies as possible. Though they have white hair to reflect the heat, they're black-skinned underneath and can raise their hair to allow more of the rays to reach the darker, heat-absorbing color beneath. They won't have long to wait. The sun will bake the land in short order. The Arabian Peninsula is the largest peninsula on Earth, over 3 million square kilometers. It's dominated by an array of deadly landscapes. Vast sand dunes roll into dry gravel plains, fringed by desolate rocky hills. This is the Arabian Desert. Hostile and barren, a land seemingly devoid of life. Animals and plants that live here must cope with extremes of temperature, suffocating shifting sand, and an almost complete absence of water. They must also survive each other. Arabia was once part of Africa and covered in lush green plains. 35 million years ago, there was no Red Sea, so animals could freely move back and forth. 10,000 years ago, at the end of the Ice Age, sea levels rose and flooded what is now the Red Sea. Animals were stranded on the Arabian Peninsula, and as the climate changed, the plains dried out. The options were simple: adapt or die. The survivors are now masters of the desert. But even for these hardiest of creatures, life is a constant struggle. Food, water, and shelter are in short supply, especially as the desert turns up the heat. It's only 7 a.m., but the mercury is already in the high 20s. For animals the size of an oryx to survive, they must keep constantly on the move, seeking out every possible opportunity to eat. They'll make a non-stop journey of 120 kilometers or more to get to fresh grazing. There are several youngsters in the group, all sired by the herd bull. Being smaller and more vulnerable doesn't win the calves any favors. They still have to give way to higher-ranking individuals. Now between 2 and 3 months old, they still suckle from their mothers. The young are browner in color than the adults, a useful trait giving them some degree of camouflage against the sand. Other calves in the group are 5 months old. Their brown coats are already fading. They weaned nearly a month ago and scrape a living from whatever desert vegetation they can find. Regardless of their age, the young are expected to keep up. The herd's home range can be 2,500 square kilometers. They never stay in one area for more than a few months to avoid overgrazing. But moving can bring new challenges. The herd has wandered into the territory of a lone bull. Until they can secure a herd, bulls lead a solitary existence, guarding their turf and waiting for available females to pass through. But this group already has its herd bull. For many animals, this would be a certain fight, and their horns are potentially lethal. But for these desert dwellers, there's a far greater threat: the heat. A fight would waste valuable energy, but the lone bull wants the herd. It may be worth a challenge. Posturing They size each other up. The brief tussle's enough to persuade the loner that it's a fight he can't win. He lets the herd pass through his territory unhindered. It might be a long, tough journey. One of the biggest challenges here is the terrain. Sand. This shifting, gritty, irritating topography has shaped one of the desert's most extreme specialists. The sandfish. He's not a fish at all, but a lizard, a type of skink. Like all reptiles, he's cold-blooded and starts his day basking in the sun to warm up. Scientists long thought his stout limbs were tucked against his sides to help him sink under the sand. Recent studies have revealed that they rotate back and forth using the front crawl stroke. He can literally swim through the sand. What's sleek and streamlined beneath the sand looks a lot clumsier on the surface. His short legs give him a distinctive waddle. Most small animals have no choice other than to hide away during the blazing heat of the day. But larger animals have no such luxury. Some of the most famous specialists live out on the rocky plains. Known as the ships of the desert, camels are the ultimate desert survivors. Dromedaries, or one-humped camels, aren't truly wild. They're a domesticated species that now roams free. Fossil evidence suggests that they were domesticated here 4,000 years ago. By 2,000 years ago, their wild ancestors were extinct. Nonetheless, they still have their predecessors' remarkable adaptations that enable them to survive this fierce desert. In the midst of the group is a tiny youngster, just a few weeks old, still showing the last traces of the umbilical cord that once connected him to his mother. Older cousins gather around him. There's no real hierarchy in camel society. Outside the breeding season, females and males live in separate groups. Females with similar-aged calves stay close together so their offspring can socialize. The young are kept in a creche in the middle of the herd for protection. Despite the care, the young male's future is far from assured. With danger from predators, disease, and above all the heat and lack of water, 30% of young camels won't reach their third birthdays. To survive the dangers of the desert, this little guy's on a steep learning curve. By 8 a.m., it's reached a scalding 35 degrees. The temperature will continue to climb. There's another herd on the dunes that has its own adaptations to survive. These are sand gazelles. They get all their water from their food. They must eat 30% of their body weight daily and keep constantly on the move, covering 15 kilometers a day in search of fresh grazing. Even their extreme physiology doesn't guarantee their success. In bad drought years, half the gazelles may perish. The oryx are also experts in conserving water. Their breakfast consists of little more than dry grasses, but there'll be enough moisture in the plants to keep them alive. Their extremely efficient kidneys make sure no water is wasted. They produce ultra-concentrated urine and dry droppings. As humans get hot, we sweat to maintain a constant internal temperature. No matter how hot it gets, oryx won't sweat. They cannot afford to lose the water. Instead, they will allow their internal body temperature to rise to around 39 degrees, while still keeping their brain cool. The excess body heat will dissipate during the cooler night. Oryx are browsers, and plants like this tribulus are a vital source of minerals. Vegetation is sparse, especially here, where there's little but loose sand. Even for plants, life's a day-to-day struggle for survival. Dune grasses are one of the few species to colonize the shifting sand. Their long roots search a large area for water and ensure they catch as much moisture as possible on the rare occasions that it rains. These roots help stabilize the dunes themselves. Thick skins help prevent water loss to evaporation, but they don't protect them from the oryx's battery of tough, grinding teeth. Another challenge for life out in the desert is the lack of cover for hiding. But there are some stealthy specialists. Lying motionless, with her sandy, mottled coat, the sand cat's easy to miss. She looks like a house cat, but is much more reclusive and nocturnal. Seeing one out in the open, especially by day, is extremely rare. She typically spends her days in a cool, underground den, but this morning she's enjoying the fresh air before it gets too hot. The sandcat is the only feline species adapted solely for a life on sand. Her soft, dense fur protects her from the sun's rays and insulates her during the cold night. Her claws are more retracted and blunter than other cats because she often digs her prey from the sand. The pads on her feet are hairy to act like snowshoes, keeping her from sinking into the sand. Food resources are scarce, but water is non-existent, so the cat must hunt to obtain moisture from her food. This can be anything from insects to hairs. Like all predators, she spends most of her time sleeping, up to 18 hours a day. Even as she rests, she seems to be dreaming of a hunt. It doesn't take much to wake her. Lizards are her primary prey. Thanks to her hairy feet, she barely leaves footprints and can tiptoe in silence. Warmed by the hot sun, the lizard's turbocharged. She prefers to hunt at night and will return to her den to sleep through the hot day. The air temperature reaches a peak of 50 degrees in the early afternoon. But the sand, having absorbed the morning sun, is much hotter, 65 degrees, hot enough to boil an egg. Even camels struggle. They rarely find enough shade, so sit side by side facing the sun. This way, only their narrow front is exposed directly to the rays, not their broad sides. The little calf learns by copying his mother. To protect their bodies from the scalding heat of the sand, they have thick calluses on their chests, knees, and wrists. They stop the rest of the body from contacting the sand. Camels have thick curly fur that reflects the heat. The surface of the fur can be hot to the touch, but the covering's so efficient that the skin remains much cooler. Only if their bodies reach 42 degrees, a potentially fatal temperature, will the camel sweat to try and cool down. The oryx have a different technique to beat the heat. Northerly winds are fairly constant here and build during the afternoon. The oryx climb the dunes, exposing themselves to the breeze. The wind's hot, but it's better than nothing. Now their white coats act as reflectors, bouncing back rather than absorbing the sun. They have broad feet to spread their weight, making it easier to walk on the dunes. The hooves also make good shovels, and the antelope can dig to expose a cooler bed of sand, the ideal place to sit. The air they breathe in cools their blood as it travels to their brains, preventing tissue damage from the heat. Once the afternoon temperature has reached its peak, even the oryx must seek shelter. Little gullies in the dunes hold just enough moisture and offer slightly better ground for plant life. An oasis that creates small pockets of shade. The herd male picks the best seat in the house. Everyone else must fit in around him. the calves must still follow herd protocol. Settled in, they'll sit out the afternoon sun. The dunes of the desert have a life of their own. They're always on the move, slowly drifting southeast. Winds are constantly blowing from the northwest, picking up the grains and depositing them again. The ripples follow the direction of these prevailing winds. At their biggest, the dunes can be 100 kilometers long and 3 kilometers wide. The dunes are supported by gravel beds, pebbles that are too big for the wind to shift. The stones were washed out from the surrounding mountains during the Ice Age, when the climate was a lot wetter. The rivers that deposited them have long since dried up. Now sand flows in their place. By 5 p.m., the sun is starting to sink. Temperatures gradually release their grip on the desert. The sandfish emerges from his daytime hideout. Now at a more comfortable temperature, he can hunt. Normally, he uses his sensitive hearing to locate beetle larvae burrowing in the sand. But ants are on tonight's menu. He'll need to be careful. He's not the only reptile around. And some of his neighbors can be deadly. Diagonal tracks, a clue that another predator is nearby. A horned viper moves over the dunes with his body raised, so that only 2 points are ever in contact with the hot sand. The raised dunes give him a chance to absorb the last few rays of sun, to ready himself for the kill. He's an ambush hunter and looks for a place to lie in wait for a target to wander too close. Lizards, birds, and small mammals are his preferred prey. Now in a prime position, he waits for the cover of darkness. At dusk, a new cast of characters comes to life. The Ruppell's fox sleeps in a den to escape the heat of day. But now as it cools off, he's also ready to hunt. Most members of the dog family pant to cool down, but this tiny fox has other options. His huge ears help with heat loss. He loses 55% less water than other mammals of the same size. Like so many here, he gets all his moisture from his food, which can be anything from small mammals to plants. He tiptoes quietly, thanks to long hair covering the pads of his feet. Though it helps him make a quiet approach, their most important role is protecting his pads from the burning sand. Like a bloodhound, he follows his nose. An acute sense of smell brings great rewards. A dead bird is a lucky find. By day, there are only a few species of mammals visible in the desert, but night reveals a far greater diversity. Many have been hiding right beneath the camel's feet. There are 80 species of mammal in Saudi Arabia. Most are rodents. For tiny mammals like this gerbil, the open is a dangerous place. Survival depends on the safety of a burrow. He forages for seeds and grasses, and even the occasional insect. Coming out at night means the gerbil can avoid the sun. But deadly predators roam in the dark. The horned viper's found his ambush spot. He's coiled and ready to strike. He can detect the vibrations of the approaching prey, feeling its movements as he lines up his attack. He can taste its scent with his forked tongue. After injecting his lethal venom, the viper retreats. Death comes quickly. Prey of this size is usually dead within 90 seconds. The snake will stay out of the way of its sharp claws and teeth until its victim is helpless. The bones of its lower jaw don't actually dislocate. They aren't fused together at all. The point where they meet at the front and where they connect with the skull at the back is supported by stretchy ligaments. The viper eats the gerbil head first, so that its limbs fold neatly against its body and don't catch in the snake's throat. He tries to do this as quickly as possible, because with his mouth full, he could be vulnerable to other predators. It might take half an hour to swallow the gerbil and several days to digest it. At night, insects are also more active. Now that the temperatures drop to a more comfortable 30 degrees, dehydration is less of a threat. Like the gerbil, their chance of running into a predator increases. A Ruppell's fox uses its keen hearing and sense of smell to locate a meal. The fox patrols a large territory, around 70 square kilometers, so there can be a lot of walking to find food. But persistence pays off. A large locust is a protein-packed meal. By 6 a.m., light begins its return to the dunes. and heat is on the rise. As usual, there's a changeover in the animal community. Surviving rodents retreat to their burrows. The day shift begins once more. The sandfish is cautious as he looks for a safe spot to bask and warm up. But this morning, he doesn't need to worry. After its huge meal, the horned viper is resting and realigning its jaws. He needs to sit in a safe spot and digest his prey. As he warms up, he'll process his meal more efficiently. Thanks to strong enzymes in his stomach, he'll be able to digest the entire gerbil except for its hair and claws, which he'll excrete. As the sun climbs towards the middle of the day, the weather conditions slowly change. Warm winds are constantly shifting the desert sands, molding and moving the dunes. During the summer afternoons, areas of high pressure intensify the breeze. The ingredients for the perfect storm. The bank of cloud is a sign of trouble. The high pressure stirs the winds, getting more of the fine particles airborne. A common but deadly threat arises: a sandstorm. For the inexperienced, it could be a death sentence. It would be easy to get lost in the darkness, blinded by the sharp particles, or suffocated as sand fills the lungs. But desert specialists have their coping mechanisms. Camels can squint into the storm thanks to large bushy eyebrows and long lashes that protect their eyes. They can close their nostrils to prevent inhaling sand. Luckily, most sandstorms blow over quickly. Sometimes the desert's far less forgiving. Beneath one of the nearby trees is a reminder of just how fragile life can be. The bones of a young camel. Even ships of the desert can sink. The desert can be devastating, but destruction can also bring opportunity. The storms brought down an acacia. The crumbly, sandy soil wasn't enough to anchor the tree. Even for plants, death is ever present. But the tree's loss is the camel's gain. Camels specialize in eating the least edible of plants. Their thick, rubbery lips act like fingers to pick up tiny leaves and bark from around large thorns. Like all ruminants, or animals that chew the cud, they don't have teeth in the front of their upper jaw. Instead, the lower incisors nip against a tough palate. It's like a pair of pruning shears with a blade cutting against a flat surface. The incisors strip bark from the fallen branches. Even the toughest woody material can be ground down by a battery of powerful molars in the back of the jaws. The food will be partly digested and then brought back up for a second chewing to absorb as many of the nutrients as possible. The gorging camels stir up insects that were hiding in the vegetation. Among them, a master of disguise. A female striped or devil's flower mantis. 6 centimeters of killer instinct. She's a stealth predator. She creeps forward, rocking her body back and forth as though blown by a breeze, adding realism to her leafy disguise. The name praying mantis comes from the folded arms, which seem to be held up in prayer. But this isn't an act of repose. Her weapons are concealed. Her claws can be swung forwards with incredible speed, pinning her insect prey against the spine-lined arms. But despite her weaponry, she's not immune to attack. For a predatory bird, like the sharp-beaked shrike, the mantis could become a meal. She cautiously retreats. But these avian hunters are also hunted. The flocking featherweights don't go unnoticed by the sandcat. With so many pairs of eyes watching, it's hard to sneak up. The camels ignore the community around them. They need to eat as much as they can while the going's good. The hump of a camel stores fat. When food's abundant, its body produces the fat and strong fibrous connective tissue to hold it in place. Most animals store fat on their bodies, but fat's an insulator and would cause a desert animal to overheat. By storing it in the hump, it doesn't interfere with the camel's ability to stay cool. It's a survival backpack. When the animal falls on hard times, it can metabolize the fat, producing both energy and water. The young camel barely has a hump at all. It will take a while to build up good reserves. In the height of summer, even the adults are low on supplies. Their humps have diminished, a reminder that resources in the desert can be few and far between. They must always restock when they can. While the adults feed, the young play. They are necking and nipping. But these little guys won't be engaging in true sexual behavior for at least 6 years, so they have plenty of time to perfect their act. The oryx have been trekking all day, as the temperature's risen around them. By late afternoon, their endurance pays off. The storms brought with them light rains, something oryx are capable of detecting from as much as 80 kilometers away. The water's long gone. It's evaporated or drained through the sand, but the plants have trapped some. Moisture-rich vegetation is worth traveling for. The Arabian oryx was once hunted to the brink of extinction. It was only captive breeding and release that saved the species. Today, a mere 1,000 roam wild in the desert. Though their numbers have stabilized, they're still considered vulnerable. Even with protection from hunting, their survival hangs in the balance. They're at the mercy of the environment and must trudge every day to eke out their living. Not all of them will make it. The harsh environment claims around 40% of the calves before they reach maturity. So far, this herd's doing well. The fresh vegetation is a welcome feast. Even the youngest calf is having his first nibble. In a few weeks, he'll be on his own. He needs to use this time to watch and learn, to master finding food and moisture and beating the heat. He needs to be ready for a life on the dunes. Arabia, a land where water is scarce. Animals struggle to survive. The desert mountains conceal a rare waterhole, a Wadi, a lifeline to those that endure the inhospitable heat. But animals seeking respite here are at the mercy of predators. Lightning-fast snakes glide on water, hunting down their prey. Tarantulas and scorpions stalk the shadows. And hungry desert foxes prowl under the cover of darkness. These are the wonders of the Wadi. Arabia is home to one of the largest continuous sand deserts on Earth. Vast tracts of sand dunes are broken in places by scorching gravel plains. Dramatic jagged mountains rise on its fringes. Temperatures can hit 54 degrees Celsius. The landscape lacks one vital ingredient for life: water. But seemingly dry river valleys are rare places where water can be found. Here in the mountains, the bedrock is hard enough to trap the little rain that falls, creating normally temporary, though sometimes permanent, pools of water. These pools are known locally as wadis, the Arabic word for valley. This wadi, dwarfed by barren rock faces and towering mountains, may not look like much, but this rare oasis offers a lifeline for wildlife. Toads are one of only a handful of animals that can exist here year-round. Unsurprisingly, amphibians are extremely rare in arid Arabia. Just 9 species are found here. Most are confined to the cooler coastal areas. The Arabian toad is the only species to have penetrated the drier interior, and it is entirely dependent on the wadi. The toad's sudden movement catches a predator's eye. A wadi racer is on the hunt. This deadly specialist lives up to its name. The 1.3-meter snake uses lightning speed to hunt in the pools. The racer produces a mild venom, but since it lacks fangs, it must chew on its prey for the toxin to penetrate its victim. Its favorite food is toad. The snake's vision is especially sensitive to movement. Each time the toad hops, the visual hunter draws closer. If the toad keeps perfectly still, the snake can't detect it. It is a battle of nerves. Incredibly, the snake's tongue seems unable to pinpoint its target, even at point-blank range. The toad's bravery pays off. The Wadi lies in the mountains, rising along the east coast of the Arabian Peninsula. The Al Hajar mountain range stretches 500 kilometers from the United Arab Emirates in the north into the Sultanate of Oman in the south. With peaks of nearly 3,000 meters, these mountains have towered over Arabia's scorched plains for around 20 million years. The river valleys within them are exposed to both long periods of drought and sudden flash flooding. Despite the harsh terrain, animals eke out a living at every level. The king of the castle, found only in the high country, is one of the rarest animals in Arabia and the world. The Arabian tahr. Fewer than 2,500 of these endangered animals remain. The Al Hajar Mountains are their last refuge. High above the Wadi, there are few resources. Both soil and water run off these hills, leaving them bare and dry. The impervious rock makes it difficult for plants to take root. The barren slopes cannot support large herds of grazers, so tahrs are usually found in small family groups or on their own. This Billy is tired of living by himself. It's time to find a mate. Sure-footed on the rocks, thanks to his compact rubbery hooves, he struts his stuff, presenting himself to any females who might be watching. His shoveling and head rubbing spread his scent. The churned soil is like a billboard, announcing that a vigorous billy goat is in residence. Already a nanny tahr watches from afar. He will have to up his game if he's to win the female over. On the lower slopes, closer to the Wadi, other rock climbing specialists make their living. Most geckos, like this fan-footed gecko, have microscopic hair-like structures on their feet and can grip even smooth vertical surfaces. This spacious rock gecko is also perfectly adapted to the steep walls around the Wadi. It is endemic to Arabia and is found mostly in the United Arab Emirates and Oman. Another deadly threat lurks in the shadows. There are nearly 1,000 species of tarantula in the world. This one is brand new to science, so recently discovered that it hasn't been named yet. It's unique to the Wadi systems of Arabia. This bulky female is turning her hideout in the rocks into a deadly trap. The tube-like spinnerets on her backside exude a gluey substance that hardens on contact with air to form very strong threads of silk. She uses the threads to line the inside of her chamber, to reinforce the walls and prevent collapse. But some of the lines of silk extend outside the burrow. Tripwires alerting her to anything that might stroll within striking distance. A grasshopper is a meaty meal. By tarantula standards, she is small. Her body is just 3 centimeters in diameter. But that will not stop her targeting prey her own size. An insect needs only to brush a tripwire, and it is game over. She dispatches her prey with the tarantula's trademark weapons, a huge pair of fangs leading to 2 venom glands. The fangs are jointed and can be moved like fingers to stab the victim and pull it closer to her mouth. She injects enzymes into the corpse that will begin digesting its insides, turning it into an insect smoothie. She sucks her victim dry and discards the empty shell. Darkness reaches the Wadi early, its steep sides shaded from the setting sun. Night, and a little ultraviolet light reveals a deadly scorpion. Fluorescent compounds in his body armor produce the eerie color. Though just why it has evolved to glow in UV light is a mystery. Recent studies reveal that the fluorescence found in the scorpion shell acts as a full-body light sensor, with the tail being especially sensitive. Scorpions hide by day, away from harsh UV sunlight. But preliminary studies show that these arachnids are also less active during full moonlit nights. It may be that the fluorescing helps the scorpion determine the best time to hunt, when light levels are lowest. When it does hunt, tiny slits at the end of its legs can sense vibrations on the ground from anything moving within half a meter of them. Grasshoppers are a popular menu item around the Wadi. The scorpion has sharp pincers for wrestling and dismembering prey. But it carries its main weapon aloft, a sting in the tail, coiled and ready to strike. It takes a fraction of a second for the needle-like tip to pump venom into its victim, if it can get close enough. Before the assassin can move in for the kill, another nocturnal hunter disturbs it. It's a Blanford's fox, a small, agile canine that emerges only at night. Sharp claws and rubbery feet act like sneakers to help him grip as he climbs the rocks around the Wadi. His long tail provides a counterbalance. He will eat just about anything, from insects to desert plants. But it's small mammals he's really after. And they're likely to be close to water. Bats dash in to catch insects attracted to the water. But he's not likely to catch one of these. His large, sensitive ears detect some rustling. A a spiny mouse. The rodent forages for seeds and grasses, feeling its way with its long whiskers. For the fox, it's a welcome snack. But he's not alone. An Arabian red fox is also on the prowl. No predator likes competition for food and will drive off or even kill a smaller rival. The Arabian red fox can be 3 or 4 times heavier than a 1.5 kilo Blandford's. The underdog decides not to risk a run-in and heads for higher ground. As the sun rises over the Wadi, so too does the mercury. In summer, temperatures can hit 43 degrees. But the rising heat does not deter the male tahr. This morning, he intensifies his mating campaign. The female relaxes in what little shade the scant vegetation provides. Try though he might, she just does not seem interested. The male cannot afford to relax. Scent glands at the base of his horns leave a smelly calling card. She does not look impressed. He raises his scent game further. He urinates on the ground, then flicks the pee into his fur. His body odor is loaded with testosterone. The hormone signals to the female that he's in his prime and ready to mate. Ramming the ground with his horns stirs up the scent. Glands on his face add to the aroma as he gives himself a pungent facial. This is goat cologne that the ladies will hopefully find hard to resist. But this female still seems uninterested. Her lackluster presence drives the frustrated male wild. For a finale, he goes in for some prancing. But it seems to have the opposite effect. He may be coming on too strong. Beneath the tahr, on the valley floor, rare pools of water teem with life. Freshwater fish. Only 3 species survive in the Al Hajar Mountains, and this one is the Oman Gara. They endure only in isolated permanent pools of the Wadi. These tiny fish get by scraping algae and any other detritus from the rock walls of their watery prison. Their survival depends on much-needed rainfall to replenish their shrinking refuge. But rain is unpredictable in Arabia. Some years it does not rain at all. Then some pools will dry up, and the fish in those will die. When the water of the Wadi evaporates to nothing, the Arabian toad vanishes with it. But this is no permanent disappearing act. The toad buries itself in the mud and enters a state of torpor, like hibernation. It lowers its heart rate and metabolism to save energy and keep it safe until water returns. Remarkably, the toad can stay buried for up to 3 years. Little moisture penetrates Arabia's interior. But here, the high altitude of the mountains causes rare clouds to condense. The first drops of rain bring instant relief, tempting some of the residents from their dark crevices. The spacious rock gecko has a remarkable ability to repel water. Tiny hair-like spines all over its scales actively push liquid molecules away. They form bigger droplets that run off. It is a neat trick that helps to keep geckos clean and free from fungal infections. 80% of the water that falls in the mountains will evaporate. The rest quickly runs off the hard ground and into cracks in the rocks. Rain here in the Al Hajar Mountains is erratic and unreliable. A mere 15 centimeters falls each year, and it comes in only a few short, heavy bursts. The toads instinctively know that when water comes, it can come fast and furious. They scramble to higher ground to avoid being washed away. rain runs off the mountains, building momentum as it descends to the valley floor. Light rain can quickly turn tranquil pools into rapids. While toads stay clear, the rushing water has the opposite effect on the garrafish. This is the opportunity they've been waiting for. They have a mysterious, instinctive drive to always explore upstream, driven by the need to expand their territory. They take whatever opportunity they can to forge into the current. This is how the species can recolonize areas where the previous inhabitants have perished. But this is not just fish swimming upriver. These fish undertake an epic climb. Their sucker mouths, which usually scrape algae from the rocks, become anchors, securing them against the fast-flowing water. A group inches its way up the rocks. The fish must stay within the splash zone in order to breathe, but stay out of the main flow to avoid being washed back downstream. The fish can travel up to 3 meters. For those that make it into new pools, there are fresh possibilities, food, and a new territory to colonize. The stress of the journey is also thought to trigger their spawning behavior, to make sure every new pool is quickly populated by the pioneers. Their sticky eggs will settle in the gravel to stop them washing back downstream. The rushing water is a mixed blessing. It creates opportunity for some, but a challenge for others. This endemic Oman carpet viper usually hides in crevices by the Wadi pools, knowing they are a good place to hunt. But the sudden water flushes this one from its lair. He struggles against the current. Luckily, the water brings him to rest against the rocks, where he can climb in search of higher sanctuary. The sudden surge of water is short-lived. But it can claim victims. A goat lies dead at the water's edge. Perhaps it was trapped by floodwater or washed downstream. Its rotting body provides sustenance for insects. Their ability to complete their life cycles in just a few days means insects are quick to exploit fresh opportunities. Flesh-eating flies taste their food with their feet. They secrete enzyme-packed saliva from their mouthparts to break down the flesh, making it easier to consume. They also look for places to lay their eggs, where maggots can hatch and join in the feast. Wasps are better equipped to deal with a tough carcass. They have powerful shearing mouthparts to tear through flesh. Adult wasps are primarily plant eaters, but they will carry tiny mouthfuls of meat to their nests to feed hungry carnivorous grubs. Dragonflies are among the top predators of the Wadi. Their compound eyes contain 10 times greater variation in proteins than human eyes, allowing them to see a far wider range of colors. Their image resolution gives them ultra-high-definition vision. They can collect and interpret 300 images per second, 6 times more than us. Their forewings flap 30 times a second, giving them incredible aerial agility. Like miniature helicopters, they can travel in any direction to outmaneuver prey. In turn, the insects are magnets for bird life. Like dragonflies, pale crag martins catch insects on the wing. These acrobatic members of the swallow family are attracted to the high rocky ledges and overhangs around the mountain wadi. Here, pairs of breeding residents build their nests using fresh mud from the valley below. Nests can take several weeks to construct, but the high-rise homes will protect their young from predators. One bird visitor does not need such high-level security. The nightjar is so well camouflaged that as long as it doesn't move, it is almost impossible to see. It too catches insects on the wing, but only at night. By day, it remains inactive, keeping a low profile on the ground, away from hungry eyes. There is little cover on the bare rock faces of the Wadi, but it suits this predatory master of the skies. The Oman carpet viper, now recovered from its sudden swim, is one of the deadliest Wadi residents. This 75-centimeter snake with unusually long fangs can inject deadly venom deep into its victims. It only inhabits the mountainous regions, especially near wadis, where it waits to ambush passing prey. A toad would make an ample meal for the predator, but only if it ventures into the strike zone. But it's not close enough today. While the flash flood is long gone, residual moisture hangs in the air. For the next few weeks after rain, the humidity and replenished surface water nurture rare plant life around the Wadi. Out on the gravel plains, there is no sign of the water that drenched the rocks only days earlier. But scrubby plant life now sports fresh green growth. Mountain gazelles are quick to exploit the new moisture-rich vegetation. Like many desert specialists, these delicate antelope get most of their water from their plant diet. Out here, opportunities to drink fresh water are few and far between. As darkness descends over the Wadi, an Arabian toad prepares to make the most of the night ahead. The toad is an opportunistic breeder. Rain often triggers spawning. This one is ready to find a mate. He needs to put on his best voice to serenade the females. His extending throat pouch amplifies his call, which echoes around the Wadi. The bigger the croak, the better his chances will be. But he has competition. Soon there's a choir of toads, a chorus of single males, trying out their best chatter lines. He spots a passing female and leapfrogs onto her back. He uses sticky pads on his front feet to try to attach himself. His love interest does her best to wriggle free. But there's a problem. She appears to be a he. In most toads, only males have the expandable throat sacs, which allow them to amplify their calls. It's not uncommon for male toads to jump on each other. Usually, a release call by the love interest thwarts the would-be suitor. But not this one. He holds tight, determined to attempt amplexus, the pairing that triggers spawning in externally fertilizing amphibians. Males can cling on to females for hours or even days, waiting for the moment when their partners deposit their eggs. When a female begins to lay, the male will release his sperm to fertilize the emerging eggs. But tonight his efforts will be futile. Eventually, the male releases his grip and heads off to try again. As a new day dawns, the mountain wadi is eerily quiet. On the rocky slopes above, the tahr's elaborate mating display seems to have finally paid off. The female has returned and now rarely leaves his side. The pair will stay together and raise their young here. With just a few thousand Arabian tahr left in the world, the success of every breeding pair is vital to the future of the species. A few weeks following successful toad spawning, the temporary pools are packed with Arabian toad tadpoles. They now race to reach maturity, eating as much as they can to fuel their body's transformation. The more they eat, the sooner they will be able to complete their metamorphosis. Legs develop at the base of their tails, which begin to shrink. Their mouths turn from simple algae-sucking lips to insect-crushing jaws. Crucially, primitive internal lungs replace their external aquatic gills. Only those that complete the transformation will cope when the pools dry up. Any young garrafish that have matured in small temporary pools now face the greatest instinctive challenge of their young lives. They must clamber their way to permanent pools. In just a few weeks, the flow of water from the hills will cease completely, and most pools will shrink away. The wadi will retain some water, so as long as the fish reach this permanent sanctuary, they will survive. It's a long, hard struggle. Many fish are left high and almost dry. Unable to breathe in the air that envelops them, they gasp, trying to extract oxygen from the remaining moisture. Their powerful bodies catapult them as they attempt to find their way to another puddle. A handful of lucky fish wriggle their way to salvation. Enough to replenish the pool and ensure the future survival of the local population. In this harshest of environments, all animals live on a knife edge. The landscape can give and take away in an instant. For most, existence would be impossible without the tiny pockets of water cradled in the wadi. A miniature oasis in Arabia's Inferno. A lifeline in the desert.